a play to be made. We'll get into like all the defensive conversations here, and we'll have call-ins as we go later. But why don't we play a clip then? Because Pat McAfee had Bill Belichick on. Bill Belichick, one of the best defensive minds in the game. He was asked about this Baltimore Ravens defense, Brad. So why don't we play that clip for you guys, and we'll react on the other side.
They brought in Dean Pease last week as a advisor or consultant or whatever it was, and I think that's Dean's background is in pass defense. He's been with the Ravens. I mean, he's a great defensive coordinator in the league, and I'm sure that part of bringing him in there was to address the overall defensive situation. Look, they lost 3 good defensive coaches last year. McDonald, then two other guys that moved on as coordinators. So I would say just the overall lack of experience defensively on their staff is, maybe something that Coach Harbaugh and the Ravens organization wanted to address. And, I think that probably has something to do with Dean being in there, but that's not taking anything away from War. I'm just saying, just overall experience on the defensive staff is valuable.
So that was Bill Belichick just talking about, having presence on that staff. Things aren't going well in general, and they have to be fixed, right? That's the message here. And guys, I think because overall, once again, Ravens rush defense, fine, okay, right? Like
right.
That's they contained Nick Chubb. That run game was not the problem.
Right.
Jameis Winston threw for over 330 yards in this game, including the game-winning touchdown. Cedric Tillman had himself a day, and I know you're all wondering who Cedric Tillman is. That's a great thing. Great game for that young man, by the way. Fantastic, but that's a name that no one probably knew in Baltimore until yesterday. And so when you're looking at it, and I'll tell you what, one glaring thing, guys, and I don't know who wants to go next with this, no one's getting home for the pass rush right now for the Ravens. So the hardest thing, even though for the secondary, how do you help a secondary out? You got to get pressure on the quarterback here.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Kev, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah.
That's been the conversation. Trade deadline's a week away. I think that has to be a priority piece for Baltimore because you have a banged up secondary a little bit right now. Had guys in different positions or playing, more snaps, but it was the same result. But one thing you can't have, I don't care who the quarterback is, they get that amount of time in the pocket. That is too much to ask of a secondary that's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's hilarious in hindsight, but there was a hilarious next-gen stats, like the bubble clip. You see the player bubbles. Jameis Winston on one play in the red zone had 5.5 seconds to throw and threw it directly to Eddie Jackson. He dropped the ball, like literally right to him. So even when the pass rush isn't getting home here, John Harbaugh talked about this, and I know we've talked about it on here every single week, seemingly for the past month. The pass rush and the secondary are supposed to be married together. They could not be further divorced right now. They're signing paperwork and they're divorced right now because it goes hand in hand with each other, right? Where covered sacks are a thing, right? If you can cover well, your pass rush has more time to get home. On the contrary, if your pass rush gets there quickly, your secondary doesn't have to cover as much because with every second that goes by, with a quarterback standing back there looking for someone to throw the ball to, guys can break open, guys can work back to the quarterback.
Right.
But Odafe Owe has seemingly been nowhere to be found for the most part over these last couple of weeks. David Ojabo, I heard you guys talking about it on the pregame yesterday. I mean, he was a healthy scratch yesterday.
Yep.
Like, what are they? Kyle Van Noy's had a great start to the year, but
kind of supporting
kind of falling off, right?
They bring in Ngakoue. He's had actually, weirdly enough, he's probably the guy that's been closest to the quarterback most of the time. It feels like he's one of the only guys. So I'm not sure what they have to do. But Ryan, as you said, trade deadline now a week away, week and 1 day away. Something's got to happen. And this cannot be the team that they take into week 10 or whatever that would be.
And you know what? Some things that happen that can't be explained as well about talking about a team being inspired. And, Chris Evans and Chris, shout out to you because this is a good point to be brought up. And again, you still have to go out and play the game. The Ravens should have won this game. The play-by-play voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan, did just pass away. You made a quarterback change. You're playing more inspired. The Browns did everything that they should have done to try to win this game. And may Jim Donovan rest in peace, by the way. Yeah. Those people there, just for everyone knows this, that means something to a community. Everyone can talk about any sports community that you're in. That's what Jim embodied there for Cleveland.
Yeah.
But on the field for Baltimore, it was a thing of, all right, Cleveland did what they had to do, and they're a banged-up team themselves. They're trying to figure it out. And quite frankly, when you think of it, if you were to say, we're going to put our backup quarterback in, we traded away our number one wide receiver, and we haven't scored more than 20 points all season, right? 20 was the highest they got? 18, right? 18 points the entire season.
And that's actually, and I mentioned that, that's worst in the NFL, also the worst in college football. There isn't a college football team that scored less points than that this season. So take that, and then the Ravens, of course, end up allowing way more points than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's one thing. This could honestly be the best thing that happens for Baltimore, and I'll explain why. I always told you guys as well, when people tell you your shit don't stink, don't always believe it, man, because you might just have no sense of smell at the moment, but there still might be that nasty odor that's around. And for Baltimore, it gets band-aided when you win.
Yeah.
When you win games, you have time then to go out. So if the Ravens won this game, you can sit there and go, we won another game, and we have a little bit more time to figure this out without the pressure.
Right.
Well, that was Dallas. That was Cincinnati. Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And
those
so
are those games.
They won those games, and you're sitting there going, well, damn. All right, we won those games. We're going to get better. Flip to the other side. The Eagles barely escaped the Browns, and people are calling for Sirianni's head. And sometimes, he's still sitting there. We're going, what the hell? But now the Eagles defense has won now 3 straight games. Now they're almost atop the NFC East. It can change in an instant, right? So for the Ravens, what's baffling is that their losses on the year, they got the Kansas City loss. Makes sense. But then your other losses are to the Raiders at home and now at Cleveland. Tough road game, but it could be the best thing that happens. Why? You got Denver coming in, who their defense is solid. Rookie quarterback, though, you should take advantage of. And then, by the way, you're going to have a pissed-off Bengals team coming to Baltimore in 2 weeks, 10 days.
By the way, I think Charm City Don also brings up a good point here. The Ravens should also lead the league in INT, or they lead the league in penalties as well. I talked about this yesterday during the game when we were watching it, Rip. One of the most undisciplined teams I've seen in recent memory, with all the penalties. I mean, one of the big reasons why the Raiders were still in the game is because the Ravens had 110 yards, 110 penalty yards.
It was high.
And so that's the part that kind of makes me rip my hair out as well. It's just like there's a lot of penalties. I think Charlie Kolar had a bunch of them yesterday, and Ronnie Stanley had a few too. So like just a lot of undisciplined ball out there as well.
It got to the point where me and Brad yesterday, we were sitting there and the big play would happen and we wouldn't celebrate because we just watched. We'd be like, no flag, no flag, no flag. And then like you'd see them start to move and then you're like, okay, there we go. But every big play, you were like, where's the graphic?
Yeah.
Like, where's the flag graphic? You're like, there it is, holding on the offense.
And to close out this point, Kev, you had something you wanted to add on here.
Yeah, well, the Raiders right now are a 2-6 football team. The Browns right now are a 2-6 football team. So 2 of their losses combined are against combined records of 4-12.
Ooh.
Nice.
But here's a stat just to round out the secondary segment of this. The Ravens last season, their defense compared to this year, the Ravens right now, we're past week 8, are less than 1,000 yards away from matching their 2023 total. And we're not even halfway through the season yet.
Oh, happy Monday, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy Monday to you too. Happy Monday to you too.